Welcome back to All About the Sound, making learning English easier with the 3P approach. And we're continuing along with our discussion on phonological awareness. Phonological awareness. And we're talking today, moving on from onset and rhyme, to multisyllable words. When words have more than one vowel sound, more than one word part with a vowel sound. When we were discussing onset and rhyme, we were dealing with one-syllable words or word parts. Now we're going to look at the word parts, how we can determine how many parts are in a word when we're listening, and how many word parts or syllables we should be making when we say a word. So let's listen to phonemes and syllables. Remember that phonemes combined make onset and rhyme, but they also make syllables. And what is a syllable? A syllable is a word part that contains a vowel sound. And it's so important to note that it is not a syllable unless it contains that vowel sound, a vowel phoneme. Onset and rhyme combined can make a syllable, because if we have our onset and rhyme, it could be in a word or a word part, and that can be a syllable. But think of a syllable as a room inside your word apartment. A syllable is like a word part or word room inside a word. Okay, so you see the floor plan for an apartment there, and one of those rooms, say the bedroom, could be the syllable that we're looking at. So a syllable is like a word part or word room inside a word. I want you to note now that I will be using the word syllable interchangeably with the term word room or word part. So if I say syllable, word room, or word part, I'm meaning the same thing. I'm meaning that part of a word that contains a vowel sound. So I hope you remember our apartment building analogy from the first chapter. The apartment building is that which we are listening to or what we're trying to say. So the entire message, be it in a sentence or a paragraph or a speech, or if I'm giving directions or instructions or a lecture in school, is the apartment building, okay? It is the statement, the paragraph, the speech, the directions, or the poem someone is reading to us like we've done last section. So what we're hearing in the entire message, or what we're attempting to say with our entire message, is the apartment building. The apartment is the word, and the syllable is the word room in that apartment. Word room? If we compare a word to an apartment inside an apartment building, the syllable is one room in that apartment. Though when we were talking about onset and rhyme, we were dealing mostly with one-syllable words. And that's what we see often in our onset and rhyme. Most apartments have many rooms. Most words have many syllables. And we call these multi-syllable words. We were dealing a lot with one-syllable words when we talked about onset and rhyme, but now we're going to move to multi-syllable words. Words that have many word rooms, word parts, or syllables. To hear, sound out, and later represent those phonemes in writing, we need to first hear the different syllables in words. We need to be able to hear and later speak the syllables in words. So in a sense, we need to count those syllables. How many syllables are in the word? Can you tell when you are listening to a word how many syllables are in it? When you are about to speak, do you know how many syllables are needed to sound out that word you are about to speak? We need to count the syllables. Counting syllables then involves listening for the vowel sound. Remember, a syllable contains the vowel sound. So if we are listening for the vowel sounds, the different vowel sounds in different parts of the words, we're actually recognizing the different syllables. Listen for the vowel sound. And when we listen, we can clap it out every time we hear a vowel sound. And how many times we clap is how many vowels are in the word, and therefore how many syllables are in that word. Or we could count the jaw drops, and we will talk about jaw drops in a bit. So first, let's look at clapping, or you could tap the table, tap your feet, but clapping is a good way to remember it. Clap or tap it out. Clap as you hear each vowel sound. Let's practice. Now again, this is still phonological awareness, so it's all about the sound. I do not want you to get tripped up on spelling and looking for vowel sounds that you're seeing. This is all about listening. So let's begin with this phonological word, or this phonetic notation, and see if we can sound it out. I'm going to say the word, listen, and then you can use your symbols to determine your vowel sounds. Result, 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 result. I know how many times I have to clap because I've actually highlighted the phonemes, the phonetic symbols for phonemes that represent vowel sounds. Okay, so we have 2. 1, 2. We actually have 7 phonemes in that phonetic symbol, in that word we're hearing or saying, but 2 of those are vowels. And we see another little clue there is that little comma or apostrophe like thing after the schwa e. That's putting the emphasis on the second syllable. So we see the split after the e, knowing that the next syllable begins with that phonetic symbol for s. So we have result, result. Now that schwa e may be different in different dialects. You may not see the schwa e. You may see the sound for the short I in British spelling and phonetics. And in Canada, we often actually say the E, so you may actually see another symbol for E. But we're going to go with this one today for result. Two claps. Because there's 2 vowel sounds, and that's what it would look like. We make that split there. 2 syllables. So we're going to move on to another word. Do you know, just from looking at that phonetic notation, what that word is? I'll give you a second. It's atomic, atomic, atomic. We got 6 phonemes, 6 sounds in that word. 3 of those are vowel sounds. Can you recognize which vowel sounds are by looking at the phonetic symbol? But let's say it out loud, okay? Let's go. Atomic, atomic, atomic. That's 3 vowel sounds. And then you see the vowels that we're actually pointing to here, E, A, and I. And then we have the 3 claps, which means 3 syllables. Atomic. Try that. Very good. Let's try the word activity. 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 Now I know when you're looking at the word, what a mind tends to do is look at the spelling and try to pick right away those vowels out of what we're seeing, but I really want you to be hearing them. Activity. Activity. So how many did we get? All right, 4 syllables. There is another way that we can count the number of syllables we're hearing or predict how many syllables we need to say, and that is by jaw drops, because vowels tend to drop the jaw. So we can watch or count jaw drops. I'm going to say a word. I'm going to say practice, practice. Do you notice my jaw dropping every time I say this word? Practice. We can watch the speaker drop their jaw, and if we want to practice speaking ourselves, we can put the hands gently underneath the chin, right below it without touching, and see how many times our chin drops to touch our hand. So if I say practice, it drops twice. There are 2 syllables in that word. So let's practice with some more words. So let's practice with some words. I want you to watch my jaw. I want you at the same time, after I say the word, you can watch to see how many times my chin drops. And then we'll practice putting our hands underneath our chins to see how those words sound and if we can actually feel the chin hitting the hands. So I'm going to start with the word balloon. Balloon. Can you tell how often my jaw is dropping? Balloon. Balloon. That's right. It dropped 2 times. Let's say another word. Tomato. Can you see that? Tomato. 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 That dropped 3 times. Very good. Give you one more word. I gotta look, see what I'm going to give you. Television. 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 That was a little harder. Let's try putting our hands underneath our chins now, just lightly, and you can see how many times my chin hits the hands, and try doing it yourself after I'm done, repeating the word to yourself after I'm done and feeling for that dropping of the jaw. Television. That was 5 times. Television. Let's clap it out. Television. 4 times, sorry. Television. Television. 4 times. Television. You try it yourself and see what you're getting. Let's try this word. Refrigerator. Refrigerator. Again, that's hard to tell, but do it yourself. Put your hands underneath your chin, very light without touching, and see how many times that falls. Every time your chin hits the hands, it is a vowel sound, and that counts as a syllable. So let's try it again. Refrigerator. 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 5. 5 syllables there. So that is a good little practice. Keep trying with new words that you're hearing or seeing, and try putting your hands underneath your chin to see how many times you hear that. And don't forget to clap. Refrigerator. 5 times, okay? Every time you hit the vowel sounds. So there, we finished another little section on phonological awareness. We went from onset and rhyme and one-syllable words to multi-syllable words. Seeing the word part in a multi-syllable word as the syllable or the word room in an apartment building. Trying to stick with that analogy. So when we find our word parts, we do the same with them as we would have done with our one-syllable words. But we need to hear how many word parts are in a word so we can begin our word work syllable by syllable. Until we know how many syllables are in a word, we don't know how much word work we have to do. So we are going to move on to decoding and encoding in our word work very shortly. So for now, practice, practice, practice hearing not only the phonemes, but the phoneme combinations that come in the form of syllables and or word parts, word rooms. Keep practice building those apartment buildings with your speech and with what you're learning by listening. Thank you so much for joining, and I hope you have a wonderful day.